please welcome APAC Pacific Northwest Regional Director, Julie Munjak.
Good afternoon. Throughout our program today, you have heard from important House leaders regarding their efforts to advance pro-Israel legislation. To close our session, we'll hear from a bipartisan panel of their counterparts in the Senate. Our first guest, Senator Rick Scott, was elected in 2018 after serving 2 terms as the 45th governor of Florida. As governor, Senator Scott fought against the BDS campaign and bolstered his state's ties with Israel. He has continued that track record in the Senate by supporting pro-Israel initiatives as a member of the Homeland Security Committee. Joining him on stage is a fellow freshman senator and Homeland Security Committee member, Nevada Senator Jackie Rosen. Senator Rosen won election in the 2018 midterms after earning a reputation in the House as one of the most bipartisan representatives of the 115th Congress. We are excited for them to join us on stage to discuss how they will work to strengthen the alliance between the United States and Israel. Everyone, please help me give them a warm welcome to Senators Rick Scott and Jackie Rosen. Thank you both so much for joining us. And since everyone is eager to hear from you, I'm going to jump right in. Senator Scott, Senator Rosen, can you each tell us a little bit about your personal connection to Israel and why the U.S.-Israel relationship is important to you? Please.
Well, I can tell you that I am the 3rd Jewish woman to be in the United States Senate. And I believe that I am the first former synagogue president to be elected to the United States Senate. And I learned a few negotiating skills there. But needless to say, we understand how deeply important and personal it is to me, my whole life, and our alliance and our strength with Israel and the United States couldn't be more important. You know, last fall I was able to visit Israel to see some of the issues that are going on right now on the ground, and I want to tell you that we have quite a few lone soldiers there. I visited an Iron Dome battery where one of our lone soldiers is helping to protect a city, and then my daughter's best friend, a lone soldier in the artillery, stationed currently at the northern border. Again, Israel's safety and security, personal and deep. And that is why one thing I did when I got to the Senate is start the anti-Semitism task force. So for the first time in the history of the United States, the Senate has a task force solely dedicated to combating anti-Semitism. Very proud of that.
Thank you, Senator.
Well, growing up, we all learned about what happened in the Second World War with the Holocaust. I took my daughters to Birkenau and Auschwitz when they were teenagers, and what you see is Israel needs a place that they can be safe. I also think the Holy Land ought to be controlled by somebody that's going to allow all religions to participate. And then as governor, I had the opportunity to go there 3 times and learn more about it, although probably the best trip I had was last summer. Jack and I went on the same trip with APAC, and you got to learn a lot more about the issues with Hezbollah and ISIS and Hamas, and go to some of the settlements really close, like to Hamas and what they go through. So I think it's clearly our biggest friend in the Middle East, and they do it themselves. I mean, we support them, but it's their own soldiers that are defending their freedom. So you just have to admire what Israel's trying to do, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that America is the best friend to Israel the entire time I'm in the Senate.
Senator Scott, just one more question for you. Before you ran for senator, you were governor of Florida, a state that has close ties with the state of Israel. Can you please tell us a little bit about how you work to build the Florida-Israel relationship and how your perspective may have changed now that you've become senator?
Well, as everybody knows, we have a significant Jewish population in Florida, and so if you just travel your state, you learn a lot by just talking to people. And that's probably the way I learned the most. I did trade missions. I did 2 trade missions over to Israel where I took Florida companies to try to get more business with Israel. We also did a memorandum, and we funded it to do joint research. But most of it, you just keep talking to individuals about how you can, what's important to them. Israel, I tried to make sure Florida was the best friend of Israel. My job as governor is to compete and beat every other state, so that was my goal. You just by talking to people, you learn what you ought to be doing. We had issues with anti-Semitism. My last 2 years in office, we started seeing a lot of threats against Jewish day schools, so we got state funding for that. It was disgusting. It's just disgusting. We also, this boycott of Israel made no sense, and so the first thing I did was I got we have the 3rd biggest pension plan in the country. I got the pension plan to say they're not going to invest in any companies that participate in a boycott of Israel. And then I was able to pass legislation that said no Florida state agency would do business with anybody that participated in any boycott of Israel. And then, of course, every time I did any event, they asked me if I would buy more Israeli bonds. You can imagine. We did.
Thank you, Senator, for all of that. Senator Rosen, you are the chief Democratic sponsor of Senate Resolution 509 on the UN arms embargo against Iran. Could you talk to us a little bit about what the resolution does, why you decided to lead it, and the prospects for getting bipartisan support?
Well, I hope to get bipartisan support. That's where all of you come in as you talk to every single member that you can to have them sign on. But what the Rosen-Toomey resolution does is it's asking the UN Security Council to extend the arms embargo for Iran. That's about to expire this fall. We cannot let actors like Russia or China sell arms to Iran. We have to hold Iran at bay at all costs. And so this resolution will encourage UN Security Council to extend that. With your help, speaking with members of Congress and the Senate, we will get full support, and hopefully that will move through.
Thank you. This is a question for both of you. As we all know in this room, Israel faces tremendous security threats from Iran and its proxies. What more can the U.S. do to help Israel have the means to defend herself in a very volatile region of the world?
Well, I can tell you that you have to look at security in multiple ways. First of all, we just talked about the UN Security Council, the Iran resolution. We can talk about sanctions against Iran, but I think that we have to speak more broadly about security, physical security and cyber security. So, of course, when I got to Congress last term, I introduced the Defend Israel Act to support more missile defense systems like the Iron Dome and other things like that. We need to continue to have robust funding for our partnership so we strengthen and harden Israel's safety and security on the ground. But we also have another threat, and each and every one of us know about that. As technology helps us in each one of our lives, we also know the cyber threats that are out there. So I've introduced legislation for creating an American Israeli Cybersecurity Center of Excellence. What this Center of Excellence will let us do is work together to form those bonds, create robust systems that will prevent attacks, and if we do get attacked, be able to agilely, nimbly respond to that, restoring data, restoring whatever we need to do, and moving forward. So I'm hoping that that legislation will pass through as well. Thank you.
I think you have to do exactly what AIPAC does. I think we have to continue to educate people about the what's happening with Iran, what's happening with Hezbollah, what's happening in Hamas. And I think if we do that, I think people make logical decisions. Today, most most elected officials at the federal level support Israel, not everybody, unfortunately, and then you have to call out the people that don't. You have to be clear. If you're going to have to pick sides, or you're not going to pick Iran's side. I mean, they're not a friend of Israel, and they're not going to. It doesn't look like anytime soon they're going to be a friend of Israel. So I think the biggest thing is we have to keep educating people, because if we do, I think people will do the right thing.
Yeah. Our AIPAC activists in this room have traveled from all around the country to be here. And as senators, I'd like to ask you, how important is it for you to hear from your constituents who come all the way to DC? And why is their work so valuable?
I went first the last time. Senator, please.
Well, I was governor for 8 years now. I told people when they came to Tallahassee, I said, it's good to come here. You've got to let people know what you think, and you've got to be very clear what your expectations are. And I think the same thing is true with Washington, D.C. People need to come here. They ought to tell people exactly what they think and what their needs are. And often in my case, I learned from people. As governor, I probably shook hands with 500,000+ people in the state, and everybody has ideas. And that's my goal here, is to continue to learn. We have, in my case, we have 9 offices all across our state, and every day we get incoming emails and calls and things like that, and we learn from people. So I think it's important that you're here, and thank you for being here, and thank you for fighting for Israel.
Well, I'm going to put a little Jewish spin on this as Passover's about to come up. We as Jewish people understand the power of telling our stories, telling and retelling them year after year, being sure that our current situation and our future is informed by our past, and that we have a responsibility to leave the world a better place than how we found it, passing it on to future generations. So I tell everyone that I am only as strong as the stories I hear, whether they're from my constituents in Nevada or internationally, nationally, whatever the stories are. So please make your stories known. Come back year after year, share your passion, your commitment, why it's important to you. It's what we do, it's in our DNA, and make members of Congress hear your story.
Thank you. Senator Scott, Senator Rosen, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for your leadership on Capitol Hill and for furthering the U.S.-Israel relationship. Thank you so much.